Good evening, everybody, and Happy New Year, even though I'm sick of hearing that, and I'm sure you are too at this point, because the changing of a day on a calendar does not necessarily mean things are actually going to change. And that's what this video is about. And if you're new here, please like and subscribe and comment because that helps the algorithm. And, you can tip me in the About section. There's links for that if, you want to take pity on me. I've been through a lot. But I wanted to do a video, and today's the day to do it if you're going to do it, about what New Year's Day means to an INFJ. Because, we're not normal, so we don't see things as the majority of people do. And the number one being, today for most people, specifically sensor types, it's just an excuse to get staggering drunk and hook up with a stranger because that's what you do on New Year's apparently. However, for INFJs, being that we are introverted and the vast majority of us also demisexual, doesn't that idea doesn't really appeal to us, and nor do we see this as a sign that things are going to change simply because the calendar does. So New Year's Day for an INFJ is a little different. For one, being introverts, the idea of being in a loud club, with a bunch of people that we don't know, or at least mostly don't know, doesn't appeal to us. It's like, oh no, loud room with awkward small talk, pass. Not that INFJs, don't go out on New Year's. Like, an INFJ can go to a club, but, I have on New Year's, but it was always when I had a girlfriend, and it's like, oh, I just want to be with her, so I'll go and tolerate this because she's happy, and when she's happy, I'm happy, kind of thing. We'll do just about anything for someone we love, but the idea of like going to a club single on New Year's, it's like, no, 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 no. And, New Year's Day will make an INFJ reflect because it is a day of reflection, end of the year. A lot of times it'll send an INFJ into an NITI loop because you're going to overthink about all the things you could have did differently. Not like, oh, well, what's coming next? It's like, I wish I did that differently. I wish I did that differently. Why didn't I see that coming? Things of that nature. It's not, about the party because, again, there's not much appealing to an INFJ about a loud party and the chance to have a one-night stand because, well, we don't like loud parties with random people, or one-night stands. New Year's Eve thing for an INFJ would be like a close-knit group of like 10 people and one of them being your significant other, and the 10 of you having deep intellectual conversations throughout the night. And yeah, the whole dropping of the ball thing, that's cool when you for an INFJ when you have a significant other and it's like, yeah, this year turned out okay, because I got her, so this is pretty cool. Because for most INFJs, because we are picky and we know what our type is pretty early on, it's a lot of people are like, oh, I don't know what I want and I don't know what's really my type. No, we do. No, we figured that out real quick, and it's like, I want this. Must find soulmate. Yeah, we don't just have fun. We search for potential soulmate. So if New Year's, if an INFJ has someone who's, a contender for that, yeah, then it's cool. Obviously, we don't just blindly accept social norms. So the idea where it's like you have to go out and get blind drunk and just find, somebody to hook up with. It's like, nah, I'm going to sit this one out. I'm just going to sit it out. It's like a night of superficial conversations and, small talk does not appeal to an INFJ. And it's not just, the party aspect that's different for us. It's the whole idea of this is when things change and you start something new. Not necessarily as the U2 song says, nothing changes on New Year's Day. And that can very well be the case, not necessarily, but as INFJs, we notice patterns. We notice, patterns of behavior that repeat itself. And just because the year on the calendar changes, does not mean that that pattern's not going to stop. So the calendar changing doesn't create change unless the person's willing to make actual changes in their status quo, which, if you grew up where I did, that's like the cardinal sin. So INFJs would look at that and be like, well, why now? It's like you make changes when you either you fight for it or when you have the opportunity. Like, for an INFJ, we'd logically assume like, well, serious changes come like when you move, when you, leave a bad relationship or start a good relationship or get a new job, things that create real change because there's no doubt that something in the pattern of behavior that you're currently in is going to change. And you try to build that change around it. By build that change, I mean you continue to do things that will help further whatever your end game is, but you build off of that initial change. Just because it's a new year, if you're still working the same job, if you're still in the same bad relationship, if you're still around the same toxic friends, if you're still living in the same toxic area, nothing is going to change. And it's just madness to think that it would, simply because, it's a new year. Yeah. Never got that. It's something INFJs, we reflect on. It's like, these people aren't serious about change, and you have to be serious about it. Like, how many times INFJs have you noticed, especially those of us that work out, in January, now the gym's packed, damn, all these New Year's resolution people, damn, now it's crowded at the time when I come, and I try to come when it's not crowded, especially me, especially in the summer, because I get a lot of attention from, I was at my LA Fitness over this past summer, I was getting a lot of attention from college girls, and I'm like, this can't be good. I was able to push them away, and then I got the attention of one from work and didn't push her away, and that ended bad. But we like that atmosphere of being able to go about our routine and not constantly being bothered. Yeah, but back to my original point, you see these people like, all things are going to change, New Year's resolution, then they give up like that and fall right back into their status quo. I mean, the fact that it's a new year, if that motivates you to change, great. But to change, you have to actually want to change and be willing to put the work in. Not that, it is New Year's, I must make a New Year's resolution and pretend to care about it for 3 or 4 weeks, and then I can go back to my status quo. Yay, status quo. That's the majority of people. And that's something many INFJs observe. How many people, talk and talk and talk, usually around like Thanksgiving, from Thanksgiving on, about how much they're going to change and how everything's going to be different this year. And, and then, after New Year's, yeah. And then before the end of January, they're right back in the same status quo. It's like, I saw that when I was younger too. It's like, I'm going to stop drinking too much and, going home with random guys from the bar. It's like, oh, there she goes with another random guy. It's like, damn. It's you broke that resolution in under, it's like you made that resolution for the new year. We're 2 hours into the new year and you're back on old habits. But yet you talked about shit and that person talked about it for 4 months. But nevertheless, so INFJs, New Year's means a different thing. And a lot of times it's just another day. Because we're not into social norms, we feel no obligation to go out because, socially, New Year's is one of the biggest drinking days of the year. And you're supposed to go out and get shit-faced, and you should just kiss some random person because that's what you do. And it's like, if an INFJ isn't going to be around people that they can have a deep conversation with, we're not going. And if we don't have someone, a significant other that we want to be with, we're not going. Or, well, maybe if there's like, oh, come on, and this has happened to me, come out to this bar, we're all going to be there. And it's like, and then they mention the girl's name that I'm into and have been like slowly trying to ask out because I'm an INFJ and I can't make the first move. Well, at least not back in my early 20s anyway. But that kind of thing, be like, ooh, this might be my chance. So yeah, INFJ will overthink for a day or two and then decide to do it usually. But just the casualness and the superficiality of New Year's is something we're not drawn to. INFJs do, like to go out and drink under the right circumstances. The fact that it's New Year's Eve and that's just what you do, it's like, now, So be aware of that. If you're an INFJ, it's normal that we treat this day differently than other people. We have different thoughts on the matters, thoughts that are based on, facts and logic and our own intuitions and pattern of behavior. Do not feel guilty if you're not being sucked into the superficial status quo of what one is supposed to do on New Year's Eve, because let's face it, who the hell made up those rules? I always wondered that. Well, that's just what you do. That's what they say. Well, who decided this is what we do? And who are they to say? And who are they? But so yeah, INFJs don't, we always regret on the times that we're drug out to an event that we don't want to be in, and we end up being miserable and Irish goodbye it. So if your intuition's telling you to sit it out, sit it out, sit it out. You don't have to, pretend to be happy when you're not. Now, if you're on the fence and it's like, ooh, this person's going to be there and I want to see him or her, then yeah, suck it up and go. That might be your opportunity. Try to pull that person aside and have an in-depth one-on-one conversation, because that always cheers us up when the person we're into pulls us aside one-on-one and we actually have that deep conversation. Yeah, good times. And again, if you are lucky enough that you have someone that you love, and if you really don't like, loud areas, do it anyway, because I don't know about you, but it always cheered me up or made it bearable when I did something I didn't really want to do socially, and it made whatever girl I was dating at the time really happy, and then I didn't care. It's like, oh, she's so happy. I don't mind that this is loud and I'm around a bunch of acquaintances that I don't really like, but look how happy she is. Yeah, because we like to make people happy and help people, and hope and not ask for anything in return and hope that they don't stab us in the back. But anyway, so remember, INFJs, do what you want to do. You have free will. Don't fall under the pressure of social obligation if there's something you don't want to do. And remember, nothing necessarily changes on New Year's Day other than the calendar. So if you're using this as a time to make real change in your life, understand you have to put the work in, and it starts with breaking the patterns that you're currently in if what your goal is to change, because by definition, if you want change, you have to break whatever status quo you're currently in, and the calendar changing is not going to do that in itself. You have to determine what changes you need to make and actually stick with them, because to make a new pattern, it first must become a pattern, and not just, a slight deviation from your old pattern, which is your status quo, which is what you're trying to get away from. Keep that in mind on this superficial day. Thank you for listening to the end if you did. Please like and subscribe and comment below and argue with me or the others if you want, because we're INFJs and we do that. And, please send a tip to the links in the about section, and remember, trust your intuition about what to do on New Year's Day, because your intuition usually almost never leads you down. And don't sell out your integrity tonight to fit in. Don't, because if you try, it's going to be awkward and robotic anyway.